April 23rd is 世界图书日, World Book Day. So I read one of the Chinese classics, 西游记, Journey to the West, in Chinese. The children's version. Still hard though. So after many days of reading, here is the entire Journey to the West, as I understand it, with quite a few parts missing, in less than 10 minutes, starting from now. We start at a mountain called Huaguoshan. A rock on the mountain splits open, there's an egg inside, and out pops a stone monkey. It hangs out with the other monkeys and they find a waterfall. They say whoever can jump through the waterfall without being injured can be in charge. The stone monkey jumps through, finds a home made out of nature, jumps back, shares the good news, and thus becomes Mei Huang, the Monkey King. 300 to 500 years later. After a lot of playing, the Monkey King suddenly realises and decides to seek out eternal life. So he takes a boat to a cave and meets Puxi Zushi. Monkey King becomes his apprentice and is given the name Sun Wukong. The master teaches Sun Wukong the secrets of immortality, as well as 72 abilities of transformation and the skills needed to fly. No, not like that. He flies on a cloud called Jindoyun that can go really far. But one day the master finds out that Sun Wukong has been showing off his powers. He gets really angry and he kicks him out. He goes back to Huaguoshan and finds out that all his mates have been kidnapped by a demon called Hun Shi Mo Wang. He decides to seek revenge, kills the demon, brings the monkeys back, but he also thinks, I need a good weapon for the future. This leads him to the palace of the East Sea Dragon. He asks for a weapon. He's told about a heavy staff in the water called Shuntie, but it's too big and heavy. He makes it change size, takes it, and this is now his golden staff. He next has dinner with all the demon kings and sees that his name has been written on a list, so he follows them to the underworld, finds out that his name has been written in Sheng Se Bu, the Book of Life and Death. He crosses his name out. Now the gods of the underworld get worried about his power, so they report him to the Jade Emperor. The Jade Emperor was going to send an army, but Tai Baiting, the god Venus, said, just give him a rubbish job in heaven. So the Emperor gave Monkey King a job looking after horses. Sun Wukong was happy at first, but then he found out his job wasn't very important, so he left. And then he started referring to himself as Qitian Dasheng, the god equal to heaven. The Jade Emperor was angry, so he sent people to catch Sun Wukong, but the god Venus said, this time just let him call himself that, but don't give him any authority. So he did, and Sun Wukong was pleased until one day he found out that he hadn't been invited to a party, so he decided to mess up the palace and go back to Huaguoshan. The Jade Emperor sent loads of gods to fight Sun Wukong, including someone called Erlangshen. Now during the fight, Sun Wukong transforms into loads of things, Erlangshen transforms into loads of things. They fought, and they hit him with lightning. The gods then surrounded Sun Wukong and put him in an oven and cooked him for 49 days. Now after 49 days, Sun Wukong comes out of the oven, not only is he okay, but now he's got X-ray vision like Superman, I think. Anyway, he went to the Jade Emperor and said, 把天罡让给我，要不就给你点厉害看看。 Jade Emperor sent for the help of a Buddha called Rulai. Rulai came and said to Sun Wukong,
if you can jump out the palm of my hand, you can have the palace.
And Sun Wukong said,
okay.
Sun Wukong flew far away, found 5 pillars, decided to leave some graffiti on one and take a pee on another, and then he flew back to Rulai's hand. It turns out he hadn't left it all, he just left some graffiti and peed on some of Rulai's fingers. At this point, Rulai closes his hand and traps Sun Wukong under Wuxingshan 5-Finger Mountain for 500 years. 500 years later! Tang Taizong, Emperor Taizong of the Tang Dynasty, sends a monk called Tang Sung on a pilgrimage to the west to collect some sutras. Now Tang Sung passes 5-Finger Mountain and hears a cry, and Sun Wukong says, save me and I'll protect you on your journey! The Buddha, Guanyin Pusa, has told me to become your apprentice! I'm not sure how, but the mountain breaks in half, Sun Wukong is saved and ends up saying, whatever, I'm going home. In order to fix this, the Buddha Guanyin teaches the monk a binding spell and gives him some clothes and a hat to give to Sun Wukong, and then she goes to find Sun Wukong and sends him back to Tang Sung. Sun Wukong tries on the clothes, Tang Sung recites the spell, which tightens Wukong's hat, and Wukong says, stop, I'll be good. And they continue west. The pair then come across a white dragon that's a gift from Guanyin. It actually turns out to be a horse called Bai Long Ma. Not quite sure what exactly happens next, but they get recruited to catch a demon. The demon turns out to be a man that's reincarnated in the form of a pig, which is a punishment for flirting with Chang'e, the girl that lives in the moon. The pig is called Zhu Baijie. Anyway, turns out that Guanyin arranged for the pig to join them on their journey. And they continue west. They get ambushed by a mouse demon pretending to be a tiger. Tang Sung is kidnapped. They seek the help of another Buddha, and Tang Sung is saved. And they continue west. They get attacked by a water demon. Turns out that Guanyin has arranged for this demon, who is actually a general of the sky called Sha Sung, to accompany the guys and protect them as they continue west. Hungry, they stop at a house. There's an old widow. She says to Tang Sung, if one of your 3 apprentices is willing to marry one of my 3 daughters, I'll give you food. Zhu Baijie is very willing. Tang Sung says no. Zhu Baijie sneaks off and agrees to marriage anyway. He wants to marry all 3. So he goes off with his bride and the others eat and sleep. Next morning, turns out the house has disappeared. The women were gods and they were just testing the men's resolve to complete their pilgrimage. They find Zhu Baijie tied up, he apologises, and Sun Wukong says, 新郎官怎么不在新房中跑到树上打秋千 And they continue west. Demons everywhere have heard the rumour that if you eat the flesh of Tang Sung you can live forever, so now they all want to eat him. Sun Wukong goes off to find food, and whilst he's gone, a demon comes along disguised as a pretty girl and says she has food. Sun Wukong returns, uses his laser vision, realises it's a demon, tries to kill it, but the demon disappears and leaves behind a body. Tang Sung is angry. But Sun Wukong says, it was a demon. Zhu Baijie says,
Sun Wukong is lying.
Tang Sung believes the pig, reads out his spell to tighten Sun Wukong's head and says, if you do that again, I'll make your hat 20 times tighter. But next the demon comes back as an old lady. Sun Wukong hits her and says, that's the demon again. And Zhu Baijie says,
he's lying again.
And Tang Sung reads the spell again. The demon then comes back as an old man. Sun Wukong hits him, the demon disappears, leaves behind a pile of old bones, and Sun Wukong says, that's the demon again! But Zhu Baijie says,
he's lying again.
And Tang Sung tells Sun Wukong to leave. Tang Sung then gets kidnapped by a demon in a cave alongside a princess from the elephant state who's been entrapped as the demon's wife. Now, Bai Long Ma, the horse who can talk, tells Zhu Bajie to get Wukong. Now, Zhu Bajie finds Wukong and says,
That demon's not afraid of you.
and Sun Wukong says, he will be. He goes to the cave, transforms into the princess, manages to capture the demon and saves Tang Sung and the princess. And they continue west. They come across a demon called Hong Hai'er, Flame Boy, from Huyanshan, the Flaming Mountain. Now Hong Hai'er wants to eat Tang Sung, so he tries to trick them, but Sun Wukong knows what's going on. But Hong Hai'er can breathe fire. So Sun Wukong gets knocked out and he tries to fight him again, but more fire! So Sun Wukong goes to get Guan Yin, she comes and sorts it all out. I'm not sure how, something about a willow tree and some nectar. And they continue west. A bit later they come to a river, but they can't pass, so they find a place to stay. Now the owner of the place is sad because a demon in the river every year eats a young boy and a young girl, and this year his son and daughter are going to be eaten. So Sun Wukong transforms himself and Zhu Bajie into the boy and girl, takes their place, attacks the demon, who ends up transforming into a goldfish. Fish demon swims back to his palace in the river and hatches a plan to catch and eat Tang Sung, so he freezes the river so that they think it's safe to cross. As they cross in the river, the ice breaks and the fish demon catches Tang Sung. Sha Sung and Zhu Bajie try to lure the fish to the surface so Sun Wukong can kill it, but it escapes. So Sun Wukong goes to seek help from Guan Yin poolside, and it turns out the fish is hers! It escaped from her pond, so she puts a basket in the water, and I don't know how, but she deals with it. No more demon. A turtle offers them a lift across the river, and they continue west. They then come to Nuarguo, the women's kingdom. Zhu Bajie and Tang Sung drink some water from a lake. Turns out it makes them pregnant. Don't worry, they take care of that. Anyway, the queen of the women's kingdom wants to marry Tang Sung because it turns out he's really handsome. Sun Wukong persuades Tang Sung to play along because they need to get guanle or travelling papers from the queen. So they get those. Tang Sung says, I don't want to get married, at which point a Nuyao or a banshee descends from the sky, grabs Tang Sung and takes him away. Not again. The banshee that kidnaps Tang Sung is very powerful, so with the help of another Buddha they save Tang Sung. And they continue west. They arrive at Huyanshan, the Flaming Mountain. It's too hot and they have to extinguish the mountain in order to continue their journey, but they can only extinguish the mountain with a banana leaf fan owned by Tieshan Gongzhu, the Iron Fan Princess. She won't give it to Wukong because of course she is the mother of Hong Hai'er, Flame Boy, the god who Sun Wukong had asked Guan Yin to deal with earlier. So to get the fan, Wukong has to fight his mate, Niu Mo Wang. Why fight? Because he's the husband of the Iron Fan Princess. They transform into different animals, matching each other, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then someone called Prince Nejia shows up and defeats Niu Mo Wang. Iron Fan Princess gives Sun Wukong banana leaf fan. I'm not going to lie, I got confused during this chapter. Anyway, they end up extinguishing Huyanshan, the Flaming Mountain. And they continue west. Tang Sung is hungry. He goes to a peach forest, he sees some young girls and he says, hello. They invite him into their home to eat, and it turns out they're spider demons. They kidnap Tang Sung and trap him in webs in their cave. Not again. Sun Wukong follows them by turning into a little fly, and he waits for them to bathe, and then he steals their clothes, and he wants to distract them and save his master, but Zhu Bajie says, don't kill them, I'll do it. The pig ends up having a bath with the beautiful spider demons. He turns into a fish and eventually they start fighting, but the spider demons escape and run away to a cave. Sun Wukong follows and he's met by loads of small demons who turn into hundreds and hundreds of mosquitoes and bees. Sun Wukong plucks a hair, that turns into many birds. They eat all the mosquitoes and bees. He saves Tang Sung, but the 7 spider demons have gone. The 4 travellers come to a cave called Huanghua Guan. They meet a priest inside. He tells some children to go pour some tea. Everyone drinks the tea, but Sun Wukong refuses. Long story short, the spider demons are here, the priest is their master, and the tea is poison! The spider demons reveal themselves. Sun Wukong pulls out a hair, that turns into 70 Monkey Kings, and he says, give me the antidote. They say no, so they fight and Sun Wukong kills the spider demons. The priest then turns into a 1,000-eyed demon and shoots golden fire from his eyes and pushes Sun Wukong out the cave. Sun Wukong cries. An old lady comes by and says, you need to find Pilanpo Pusat. So he finds her. She gets Sun Wukong to lure the demon out of the cave. She then throws an embroidery needle at the demon. It turns into a centipede. She gives the antidote to Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong saves his friends and they continue west. They arrive at a place called Tianzhuguo and go to a temple. A monk in the temple tells them that a mysterious wind brought a young crying girl who claims to be a princess and she's there every day. Anyway, on day 2 they go into the city and at that time the king's daughter is finding a husband. Something about throwing a ball of silk and whoever catches it is the husband. Anyway, this princess is actually a demon who switched places with the real princess who is now in the temple because the demon knew that Tang Sung would have to pass through the city. So the demon throws a little ball at Tang Sung. He ends up catching it, so now he will be her husband. Or dinner. Tang Sung is brought to the king. The king tells the others to carry on with their journey and they say, okay. And Tang Sung gets worried, so they leave Tang Sung behind, but Sun Wukong turns into a bee, flies onto Tang Sung's shoulder, tells him that the prince is actually a demon, and then they start fighting. The demon escapes and Sun Wukong follows it to a mountain and they start fighting. He's about to kill it until suddenly Chang'e, the girl from the moon, turns up and says, don't do that. The demon turns out to be the jade hair and it belongs to Chang'e. It ran away and did some naughty things. Sun Wukong says, okay. Chang'e takes the hair away and Sun Wukong returns the real princess back to her parents. And they continue west. The 4 travellers and their horse finally arrive at their final destination, Xitian, to collect the sutras. They need to cross a raging river. I'm not quite sure what happens here, but Tang Sung is supposed to complete 81 challenges and he's only done 80, so he has to cross the river on his own. He does so, he collects the sutras, he returns them to Emperor Taizong, the end. There you go, the entire COG Journey to the West in less than 10 minutes, although I did miss out quite a lot of detail, including many of the 81 challenges faced by Tang Sung. They mostly involve him being kidnapped and then being saved by Sun Wukong. But anyway, it's obviously better to read the book than it is to watch a video like this. But you've already watched the video, so it's too late.